Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle live YouTube show. Back in the playoffs, 2 wins out of 2. It's all looking good at the minute. Off to Maidenhead we go on Tuesday evening. Looking ahead to that one and previewing and assessing our playoff chances. Delighted to have back by popular demand, Don O'Riordan. Don, greetings.
Thank you, Paul. Great to be back.
Hey, lovely to have you back. And Chloe Page, our resident Notts fan, complete with Wilkinson's black and white striped wallpaper, which we're all quite envious about. Good to see you, Chloe.
Hi, you're right.
Now then, I'm going to embarrass Chloe straight off, Tom. Just show me what you're drinking tonight, Chloe.
I've got Fanta, so
Fanta orange. Last time Chloe was on, Dom, last week, she was swigging a bottle of Budweiser. And we got an anonymous email complaining about the promotion of alcohol on the Magpie Circle. So we have to be a bit careful. Good to see you, Don. Now, let's get this one out the way. We've already had some tweets coming in. Mr. Cuthers, or whatever his name is on Twitter, he said, marks out of 10 from 0 to 10. How much swaz was there on that goal at Tottenham? Now, that was in 1991. Chloe, when were you born?
2001.
2000, 10 years before you were born.
Yeah, but
this man was whacking it in past Gaza and Co.
I was only 15 then, though. Remember that?
Yeah.
I wish.
Now, if you can, I'll put you on the spot, Don. Can you tell us something about that goal or that game that you haven't told anyone before that we don't know about?
I've told a few stories.
Really, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I mean, I was up for the corner. I was on the edge of the box. Obviously, Neil didn't think I was going to go and head it in the box. So, and then it just came spinning out. Gaza tried to take on Paul Harding on the edge of the box, and it spun to me. And it's one of them where, as a player, when you hit a ball sweetly, you kind of, I was almost running away before the ball hit the back of the net. I knew I'd scored. It was that sweet. But what was quite interesting, I'm not sure if I told you this one, Paul, there was members of the family who put money on me scoring the first goal.
Really?
So, you know, it was kind of, I heard this before the game. And I got information that, we put money on, you know, there's 5 of us. And I'm going, really? And what odds am I? I think you're 15 to 1. And I went, oh, okay, that's not bad. So, you know, there's me thinking they must have put 100 quid on between them or something. So I said, so how much did you put on? £5. And I went, what? So anyway, like that just kind of went over my head. That was before the game, and I think, geez, they've no confidence in me at all. But when I actually banged heads then with Shorty and the lads jumping on top of me, and we banged heads and we cut my eye or whatever, the referee came over and he's going, geez, that looks like you're going to need stitches, you know. And I said, we'll wrap something around, it'll be all right, you know. And he goes, that was some strike, wasn't it? I said, yeah. I said, it just worked out. The family's won about 45 quid. Oh, no, what was it? 15 to 1 and 5 is 25. Yeah, it was just like 75 quid or something. So I said that's something that that's positive come out of this. But the funniest story for me, and if there's anyone out there listening who know who this guy was there was a guy in Scarborough at the time. He sat on the settee with his mate. They're watching the match. There's an overhanging chandelier above them. You can imagine what happens. And my goal flies in, and this guy jumps up and punches what he thinks is the air, but hits the chandelier, splits his hand open, goes to A&E, and they're saying, oh, geez, that's looking bad. You know, we're going to have to get that well seen to. So we're going to have to send for the specialist. So the specialist arrives in about half an hour later, who turns out to be a Tottenham fan. And I was watching the game at the same time, and he's got dragged away. Now he's in a bad mood. Now the guy from the Notts fan is worried he's going to have to get stitches from a Tottenham fan because of what happened to a Notts County fan. I mean, it was an amazing story, and I never did get the guys. You know, he sent me a letter, and I never did actually keep it, but I should have done. It was a remarkable story. And then later on, after all the, you know, the shenanigans of stitching and putting it back together again, he comes in and he goes, "How's your hand?" And he goes, "Bit painful." He said, "I've a bit more pain," he says, "to tell you about." He says, "What's that?" He says, "You've lost 2-1," and walked away with a swagger. Like, you couldn't, like you said, you couldn't make it up. It was unbelievable. But yeah, I had two nieces, in Derby, watching the match glued to the screen, and the ball was like obviously lashed into the back of the corner, and sure enough, like the two girls are like that going, "Who scored? Notts. Oh, Notts have scored." And they kind of got a bit excited, and then they kind of both went, "Good God, Don scored!" And they jumped up and they were hugging each other, kissing each other. It was mad. So they're the kind of stories you get. But listen, nearly every single Notts fan I speak to online, on Facebook, they always tell me the same story. And I believe them, because there was a lot of them behind the goal. They said, "Don, I was right in line with that when I hit the net." And, you know, there's nobody saying, "Oh, I was up in the rose head at the back." They all say I was right behind it. So look, it was it's a memory I'll never forget, and I'm sure that everyone that was there, it was a great day, a great experience. And as we mentioned before, the start of what was going to be our second, that was the start of the run-in for the second promotion, when Neil had us in on the Monday, convincing us that we could do it again. Incredible, absolutely incredible.
And we've not rehearsed that, Don, either. I dropped that one on you. Some lovely little stories there.
Yeah.
And as if to prove the point, Ian Burchnall, not the manager, the guy that's the follower of our show, but spells his name slightly differently, right on cue. I was right behind that goal, Don. What's a goal? Good enough to win this time. There you go. Alan Cotty. I remember Don's goal very well, and many others. Gary Smithhurst was also in the away end that day. Bedlam when the goal went in. Paul Hawksworth, I'm still watching Don's goal on Match of the Day. The entire programme is online. Fantastic. Wayne Wilkins. Paul, my absolute all-time favourite shirt, that one you're wearing. This was the purple one. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I can't. The one you were wearing against Spurs was the pale blue, wasn't it? I ain't got one. Yeah. They're very, very rare. They are very, very rare. Some messages from Lee Brearley. Evening. Elvis Bott says hi. Mark Townsend, evening all. What a difference a week makes. What a difference 2 wins make. I'm not bothered about the XG and all of that. Ian Birchnall again, evening all. Back-to-back wins. Forget what that felt like. Makes the weekend so much better. Duncan Comrie, evening, everyone. Someone getting carried away, putting money on promotion. Ian Birchnall hopes Maidstone got a great result. Well, I think it was Maidenhead, but they are very easily mixable. MFOL, new listener, really enjoying the podcasts. Duncan Comrie, Stell said 9 wins and we're up. Mark Stollard last week. He said, win the next 9 and we're in League 2. Easy, isn't it? 1 down, 8 to go. Ian Birchnall casting aspersions on your soft drink beverage. Chloe, vodka and orange, obviously. Dave Woolley says, I put money on at 10 to 1 for us to go up. Probably not bad odds, to be fair. Okay, we'll get into it all. Chloe, 2 wins out of 2, as some of those viewers and listeners have said. What a difference those 2 make. What do you make of it all now among our young fans brigade?
Well, we said, last time I was on the podcast, it was all positive, and there was quite a lot of comments that you're too optimistic, it'll never happen, and now it's in our own hands, we're in the playoffs, so only we can slip up. So it's been massive, absolutely massive, the last 2 wins, and we're playing with confidence now, especially Wootton scored, and we're back to looking good. So we keep it going, we keep the form that we're in, and we'll give it a good go.
Momentum's such a key word, isn't it, Don? Such a key word. And we'll come on to Michael Doyle in a minute and the comparisons with yourself. 2 wins, and from fans being very pessimistic, very negative. I've been banging the drum for a little while saying this group of players is good enough to get into the playoffs, without a doubt. Now I said, "Oh, you're delusional," etc., etc., etc. We get we're down to 10 men against Sutton. We get a 94th minute penalty. The young lad Ruben Rodrigues puts it in. We get a result against a team that we absolutely should beat, but we won convincingly in the end. Completely different. Talk to me from a player's mindset that you've lost 4 out of 5 in a team, and although there aren't fans in the ground, you know that the fans are disgruntled. Yeah. You get that one win. You've got another one. How does the player's mindset now change?
You start believing. Yeah, you have to. That's your job. You want to get promotion. And I watched some highlights today, an extended highlights of the game against Sutton. And I watched them the day after the game against Sutton as well, and it almost felt actually like we were a different team. We were passing the ball with purpose. I was actually questioning whether someone to fast forward the tape, because it was so, we looked like we were moving the ball really quickly, and I thought, Jesus, that's great, that's brilliant. As I say, I watched the extended highlights today, and the easiest thing in the world to have done against Sutton would have been 2-2, lads. We'll settle for a draw. We don't want to lose now. We definitely don't want to lose. But it felt like the emphasis was coming. Hey, let's go and win this. Let's go and try and win this. And it was a fantastic performance. The goals, I was delighted. The first goal was a great strike. Second goal was good build-up play. Another good shot from Rodrigues. Wotton's there and puts it away. And then the penalty was dispatched beautifully by Rodrigues, a guy who I think I mentioned on here the last time, Paul, as being a really good talent. So you win that. It's a huge boost, massive boost. Probably, from a confidence point of view, a season-saving result almost. The playoffs still very much a possibility, etc., etc. And then, taking that confidence then down to Barnet. Barnet's, I posted something online to say, don't take these guys for granted, because just because they're down there, but the manager has come in and he's changed the complexion completely. And some guy online was being smart and going, what current form? What are you on about, kind of thing. And I actually went and searched, all Barnet's results, and all the kind of defeats are in red, and then you've got the beige for the, draws, and then you've got green. And I went back about, 20 games, and it was like a list of red, just total red, and maybe a couple of, beige ones for draws. And then at the, the last 7 matches, they've kind of picked up, I think it was 11 points or something like that. And this guy, and I was saying to this guy online, I shouldn't get involved really, but I said, hang on, a few weeks ago, I think you'd have settled for 11 points out of 22. The way things were going, two points from 18 and things like that. But look, we are blessed in some sense that we're still in that race, very much so. We can make, I think if we were to win all our games, we can get 75 points. The other teams around us, 70 points, 71, 73 for Wrexham, Chesterfield, 71. So it's up to us. But I think with Saturday's win as well, that could have been another slippery slope maybe 3 weeks ago. We'd have gone there, we'd probably come back maybe mostly with a draw. But because of that confidence from the Sutton game, all of a sudden this team believes in itself. This team, they're creating chances, they're getting in the box because they know there's a cross coming in and we need to get bodies in there, as we said that night as well. So a lot of things have improved. That's 2 games now back to back. Tomorrow is another cup final. It's a one-off. It's a massive game. They are in a strong position. They had a great win on Saturday up at Hartlepool. They'd be flying, no doubt. But we've just got to go there and, a clean sheet. Clean sheet is what I'm looking for right now. Clean sheet tomorrow would be fantastic. That guarantees you at least a point. But with the guys we've got in the team, as we said the last time, Paul, Wotton, and Rodrigues, and there's 3 or 4 lads up front there who can really cause trouble. And if we get the right supply to them, from our midfield players, the 2 lads in the middle of the park, Doyle and what's his lad's name, Reeves, isn't it? Good players, they really zip the ball at pace. And, I've changed a lot since we were on last. I feel a lot more positive about the team. But tomorrow is the test. That is a massive test. It doesn't, like, look, it's not the end of the world if we were to lose. It just means it makes it a little bit harder. But I think that this cup final tomorrow is massive. And if we can come away with at least a point, it would be a great result. A draw would be magnificent, or a win would be magnificent. So fingers crossed, toes crossed, legs crossed, everything crossed for tomorrow that we get a win. But at least a draw would be great.
We'll come on to whether you play against Alan Devonshire. Gary Smithhurst says Alan Devonshire's got Maidenhead playing some great football at the minute, and will be a sterner test than Barnet. He's been there about 20 years, hasn't he? Alan Devonshire. Would you have played against him?
I would have, yeah, definitely. I'd have played against him. He probably played in the game, actually, which was the last game of the season in 1991. We beat West Ham away, remember?
Grape scored a couple.
Yeah. Unbelievable result. I mean, when I was looking that up today, and I was looking at, you know, the Hammers, the fans were so bad back then, you know, with the racism and things. I remember them throwing bananas at Regio and what have you. You know, it was disgusting, to be honest. But they were ready for the celebrations that day. You know, I think they only needed a draw to win the league. But certainly, if, you know, everyone was betting on them to be champions and to win the match against us. But we came away with the victory and spoiled the party. And they still went up, obviously, but they didn't win the trophy. And they had all the celebrations and the champagne ready. So it was a fantastic result for us that day. But yeah, look, Alan, he was a footballer, wasn't he? He's a real classy football player. And his team is reflecting probably the way he plays as well. So it won't be easy. But again, Ian has had a few more weeks. You know, he's got to know the league probably a little bit more. He's put the feelers out. I'm sure. What about? He's seen the videos of this team as well, Maidenhead. So I'm sure he'll prepare the lads very, very well. And as I said, we'll be having everything crossed, hoping that they win.
Paul Hawksworth says tomorrow is massive. Agree, we will know where we are after tomorrow night. It's a big evening. Kelvin Hallam. Tomorrow night and Saturday will be massive to where we end up come end of the season. Great podcast as always. Thank you, James Spring. Playoffs is back in our hands, but not getting carried away. Got a horrible running. If we can get in, we'll finish 6th, 7th. Can't see us winning 3 away games. Obviously, hope I'm wrong. Shaw, Tab. Great to see Ibai Sam back in the mix for me, involved in a lot of link up on Saturday, allowing Wharton to stay football, which we haven't been able to do enough of late. Dale Pike, the Weymouth game could be massive, and with the crowd in, could be an electric atmosphere for that game. Ian Birchnall, Dick Miller, and Ruben have looked so sharp in the last 2 games. Ian also picks up on your point, Don. Would love to see some clean sheets, Don. Only block on Saturday's result against Barnet. Gary Smithhurst, who's obviously a bit of a West Ham aficionado as well, or he's been very quick on Google, said Alan Devonshire wasn't playing in that Upton Park game, Don. He'd moved to Watford by then. Now we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably played against him when I was obviously at a few clubs, but I definitely played against him because I remember trying to catch him one day. And I struggled.
So 2 wins out of 2 could be 3. Is it going to be 3? What do you think? A lot of informed opinion seems to be on the draw. When myself and Mark Stallard were predicting all the games between now and the end of the season last week, we both went for a win against Barnet. We actually had identical estimates, and we both went for a draw against Maidenhead. What's your take on it?
Well, we talk about no easy games, and the first time I was actually on the podcast was the day before Hornchurch. So we know from that there's no easy games, and if we should have won any game this season, it would have said it was that one. So going into the Barnet game, I wasn't 100% confident because you never can be, but especially after the win against Sutton, and now I'm becoming more and more confident with each win. So why not? I don't see why not. And we could basically rule out them getting playoffs tomorrow, because if they beat us, I think they become 3 points behind us with a game in hand. So if we keep it in our own hands and do get the win tomorrow, then I can't see us not pushing on from there. But like you say, it's a huge game, but I do have full confidence. And like you say, the clean sheet, that's the one thing we're missing at the minute. So get that and nick a goal. I don't really care how we score. And people talk about they like to see us play well, but at this point in the season, with few games to go, I'm not too bothered about the performance as a whole. I'll take 1-0 for the rest, every game for the rest of the season, and then start with playing better next season. But I don't see why not. There can't be a win there. And with Ellis in the form that he's in scoring, why can't we score from corners?
Yeah. Now, if I remember rightly, Chloe, you and your granddad and me were all at Maidenhead the last time we played them down there. Do you remember? It was
New Year's Day.
New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, first ever visit. They play in black and white stripes, Tom, and they're also called the Magpies, believe it or not.
Okay.
And a former teammate of yours at Notts County played at Wembley, hails from that region, came in and had a drink with us before the game, and he actually stood with me during the game. Can you guess who it was? Former Notts County teammate, hails from that area.
Have we got enough time to guess?
I'm trying to give you some clues here.
I'm not really sure where too many of my teammates originated from, to be honest. But go on, tell me, who was it?
He was right back.
Richard. Was it Richard? No. Well, Charlie was right back.
Yeah. Well, this guy was. He was right back at the time. I think he was regular right back for about season and a half.
Who? Go on. You better tell me because we're wasting.
Actually, no, you might have ended up. Well, he has a great story to tell about Andrei Kanchelskis.
Alan Paris.
Yeah, Alan's from Slough. He's a Slough lad.
Yeah, but Alan was more of a left back, wasn't he?
Well, he would say right back, but I think you're right. Neil ended up playing him at left back more often than not. He'd been a right back.
That's right. Yeah, the Kanchelskis. That day he was playing left back because I think Charlie was playing right back. But I spoke to Alan recently, actually, online, and his son is a player, isn't he?
Yeah, I first met Alan on my first newspaper job, covering pro football. I was on the Peterborough Evening Telegraph when I was 21, and the season when I started, that would have been 1985. And Alan, John Wilde, remember him, the big West Brom centre half? He was manager of Peterborough, and he signed Alan. From Watford, the same time I started covering Peterborough. So I've known Alan all those years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you ever buy any of those dodgy sheepskin coats off him? Because he always did a good line in designer gear, you name it. He produced it with a car boot, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was very, he was kind of cool, wasn't he? And comical, if you know what I mean. He'd say something that he probably wouldn't even realize was funny, but it was. But no, he's a nice lad. He's a decent player, wasn't he? A very good player.
He did very well. Let's talk a little bit about Michael Doyle, because there are clear comparisons with the role you were asked to fulfil by Neil Warnock, and the role that Michael has fulfilled at Notts, and slightly even more formalised now. I hope that vodka and orange is going down well, Chloe. By becoming assistant as well now. What do you see in Michael Doyle? How important is he going to be in this run-in to Notts?
I think he's got so much experience, and not just his experience. He's a fine player. I mean, the game against Hornchurch when he got injured, he was playing very, very well that day, and I just feel that the guy has so much to contribute, technically, but his knowledge of the game is immense. And I was only talking recently to some coaches about, when you're watching for young players these days, obviously the number one thing is you're kind of looking for good physique, you're looking for good skills, temperament, etc. But one of the things that they're looking for nowadays, which is vital, is for game knowledge. So a kid growing up is learning the game, and it's not just going to be when he gets to a professional club that he's able to learn about how to, stop the team from counter-attacking or how to squeeze it as a team and things like that. These things should be taught at a very early age. I don't know, maybe from 10 upwards or whatever. So Doyle has that ability on the pitch to recognise problems, because of his experience. And I think it'll just need one shout from the manager. Look, get the lads, into a 4-4-2 or maybe 4-3-3 or 5-2, whatever, and Doyle will implement that on the pitch for him. And that, we didn't change the formation hugely. I would play kind of in front of the back four at home, and I would play behind the back four away from home. But I was a constant source of information, I suppose, giving out praise or bollocking or well done or drop off or push on and things like that. And Michael will be doing exactly the same, I'm sure. And, it could be a huge decision to have given him that role, because the players respect this guy. They all respect him. That's not saying they didn't respect the previous guy or they don't respect the manager. I'm sure they do, especially after the last two results. But having this guy on the pitch, he's the captain of the ship almost, and he everyone is rowing in with him. Excuse the puns, but he's got that respect and he's got the ability. He's not in the team because he's experienced. He's in the team on merit, in my opinion. And he could be a huge difference tomorrow night about when to slow it down. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the manager's approach is tomorrow night. Is he going to go there and try and win? Or is he going to go there and try and avoid a loss? There's different approaches. And as we said earlier, with the players that we have in our squad, attacking-wise, I really think we should try and go and win the game. We can cause people trouble without any shadow of a doubt with the quality that's there. And if the two lads in the centre midfield can play as well as they're capable, it would make a huge difference both on the defensive side and in attacking, creating, bringing the fullbacks in, giving them the ball, playing balls between the lines and things like that. These two boys in the middle of the park are capable of that. And the guys getting the balls at the end of them passes, I think they're very confident at the moment, and they're feeling like, we can win this match. We can go tomorrow with no fear. That's the one thing, it's always important to be a bit nervous, but not to fear the opposition. So you've got to go in there tomorrow as a group and say, before they walk onto the pitch and when they do the huddle before, look guys, it's 11 against 11. Can we do this? Yes, we can. And I think Doyle will be saying these kind of words to the lads tomorrow night. And as again, the manager will have implemented the tactics, and as I say, then Doyle will be the guy he'll have the orchestra, he'll be leading the orchestra kind of thing with his stick, but he will be telling everyone what to do and how to do it, and hopefully he'll contribute a lot as well. So it could be, in my opinion, an absolutely ginormous win. And if we can have 3 wins, please God, on the back-to-back, and I always say don't look beyond, but from our point of view on this podcast, I suppose, predicting what's going to come, if we can win tomorrow, it could just easily be like we were on the run-in. We didn't lose. I think we lost one I think for the last 10 games, including the Brighton game, we never lost. I think we had something like 8 wins and 2 draws or something. So, it was incredible what the confidence does to a team. And I believe that confidence level is beginning to creep up and up and up after the recent results and performances. So look, let's hope so. Let's hope that the boys can continue to deliver the exciting games that we've seen of late. The last 2 games, they've been brilliant, haven't they? To come away with them 2 results like that, more goals than the opposition. Obviously, that's what wins you the game. It sounds like, but it's great that we've scored 7 goals in the 2 games. And can we go? As I said tomorrow, Chloe, I'd settle absolutely for that 100% 1-0. I'd be delighted. I'm not looking for loads of goals tomorrow. 1-0 would be a brilliant result, and hopefully that'll be the outcome.
Chloe?
Just to reiterate basically everything John's just said, it made sense for Doyle to step up because he was already that role within the team as captain, and like you say, everyone respected him, and the respect would have only have gone up. I think that maybe bringing someone else in could have stirred the pot a little bit, and with not many games to go, it made complete sense for him to become assistant, because it definitely wouldn't have gone to his head. And if anything, the players respect him more. And he knows his role, and he knows that he's still a player, and everyone else knows that. So he's a very level-headed guy. For me, I look back on the Dagenham game, and I think he led from the back. His goalkeeper was never his position, but he led us through that game by being on the pitch and by being the captain. And it's only helped us, him having a more substantial role at the club, going from captain to assistant. But like I said, I don't think his role's really changed that much, just that maybe he's got a bit more respect now. Not that he didn't have before, but just that little extra but on the pitch.
Yeah, I think what it's done is given continuity without bringing someone else that would need to get up to speed. He clearly is the most senior voice in the dressing room, and so he's got a little bit more responsibility in training now. And to an extent, Don, his match day role for the 90 minutes hasn't changed because, as you've already mentioned, he was kind of already the orchestra conductor, wasn't he?
Yeah, and leads by example, which is so important. You know, he, as I said earlier, he's not on the team just because he's Michael Doyle and he's experienced. He's in the team on merit, and you know the way he approaches the game. You know, he's not got the legs he had 10 years ago, but he's still willing to get a tackle in if need be and track people and, you know, get on, you know, if he can make a forward run, but he's looking to get back as quickly as possible. As Chloe said, he's a great example, and I just think it could turn out to be an unbelievable decision by the manager to give him that role, because I think he'll be looking for even more from his teammates. I really do. You know, in Ireland we always forgive. Even, you know, we always forgive a bad result if everyone gives 100%. That's the Irish people are always, you know, great workers, whether it's on the motorways many years ago, or, you know, cleaning the sewers, but we'll always give 100%, and no matter what we try to do. And that's Michael, and he'll be demanding that from everyone on that pitch tomorrow night. Them other 10 players, they know what he's requiring. And I just, you know, the previous manager and this manager, we said it before in the last one, I don't know what kind of atmosphere it was in the dressing room before the match. You know, were they really winding the lads up to give it 110%? But I think, you know, once Doyle gets into that huddle tomorrow night, he'll be saying things in the dressing room, I'm sure, individually to lads. But when he gets into that huddle, he'll be saying, guys, been here, seen it, done it. I know what this is. This is a massive game for us tonight. Forget about Saturday. Forget about, you know, Wrexham. Forget about everything. Tonight, 3 points at stake. We need to go home with them in the bag. Can we do it? And I'm hoping he'll get the response that we've seen in the last 2 games, because it's been excellent.
Some more thoughts from our viewers and listeners. Dale Pike at Maidenhead have only taken, that was your stats, man, only taken 25 points out of a possible 54 at home. They have scored 5 more than us, but have conceded a lot more than us. In Burchnall, undefeated with Doyle assistant, 100% record. Gary Smithhurst echoes your point, Don. Got to go for the win. Pedal to the metal to the end of the season. Now, in Greasby, Doyle has a 100% win record as a goalkeeper and 100% as assistant coach. It's a sign. Feet on the ground, Lee Brearley. Don, it's been great the last 2 home games, but as much as I want us to win all the games, the last game was only Barnet. We need to be above our game, of which we are capable to win against the better sides. Gary Smithhurst replies, confidence is hopefully up though, Lee, and winning becomes a habit. Here's another player that's been mentioned by several of our viewers and listeners tonight. In case you've been under a rock for the past 2 months, he's a player that the Magpie Circle is proud to sponsor, Mark Ellis. Gary Smither says Mark Ellis has been a revelation in front of goal. Key goals at key times from a centre half. Others need to weigh in now. Kevin Nicholson, who worked and played alongside Mark during their days at Torquay. He said to us very early on when we signed Mark Chloe, he said, a bit like a magnet in the opposition box, always seems to have almost a striker's instinct of being in the right place at the right time to stab it home. Not spectacular goals, but stabbing it in over the line. And of course, at 44 minutes gone, we're all thinking, well, we're doing okay against Barnet, but it's 0-0. And of course, a minute to go, up he pops. And right place, right time again, Chloe, yeah?
Yeah, there's no stopping it, is there? We haven't really been a threat from corners all season. We seem to concede a lot of set pieces, but I know me and my family, or my granddad especially, it's kind of, he doesn't get excited about corners anymore because he doesn't expect much. But with Ellis in there, I now expect it. I expect him to be near it at least. And he even won us that penalty just by grafting in the box. And he seems to be in the right place in the right time. And what more can you ask from a centre half that he's scoring? So hopefully, just to add to it, a couple of clean sheets, and just I hope that it really does take us into the playoffs, because I think we've now got a mentality, and we will have to be in the form of this season for us especially to get in the playoffs, and that could drag us through. And we've got players like that, and I don't see why it can't carry on. He said before he come, he quite fancies himself in front of goal, and I thought, all right, whatever. He's like you say, you sponsored him, and every time you see the game, he's up there and he's in there. So it's great as well, because obviously Wotton's not been scoring as many, and that's kind of a big topic of conversation. But it's always good to have players from anywhere over the pitch to score as well, because it takes the workload off the strikers massively. So now we've got him scoring as well. Can't see why we can't go and win on Saturday, on Tuesday even.
And Saturday.
And Saturday, and the rest.
Centre halves scoring goals. Clearly, I would imagine one of the best central defensive partnerships you were able to play in front of or behind, depending whether it was home or away. Craig Shaw, Dean Yates. Both of those could pop up with a goal. How important was set piece? What sort of work did you used to do with Neil on set pieces defensively?
I don't recall really too much intricacy, to be honest, regarding set pieces. The one thing that Neil used to say that sticks in my mind was, especially the Shorty and Yates, he's saying, listen, you two, when the ball goes into our box, you head it away, correct? And the two boys will be nodding their heads like, yeah. So what's the difference in the other box? And the guys are going, what's he on about? Neil's saying, when the ball comes into your box, you head it away. When the ball comes into their box, what do? You looked at each other like, try and score. So if you can head it in your box against their centre-backs and get it away, why can't you do it at the other end and score? And they kind of built on that, it was quite interesting. They went up with more belief, I'm going to get on the end of it. And the guy putting the ball in knew that he had at least two, plus Regio, even though Regio scored at Wembley, didn't he, with his chest come midriff forever. But, we were going, the players were going into the box, definitely thinking we have a chance. And if the delivery is good from like the likes of Tommy and Phil, the skip had a fantastic, technique for delivering balls into the box. So there was always a good chance that the ball would land on the button, as they say. The two boys were always a threat. Big lads, strong, fearless. And that's what you need again. The Ellis lad, But again, I was just looking, saying, not jumping away with the Ellis lad, he's done brilliant. But what have we had recently? We've had a penalty. We've scored from it. We've had a free kick over the wall at Altrincham. We had a couple of corners. We've had what else do we have? I think there was a throw in. I think there was a phase play where there was a throw in, and we scored from at the end of that. So they're vital. They're absolutely huge set pieces, but also you've got to defend them properly as well. I kind of looked at a couple of today that we've conceded of late, and then it's like the build up to goals, the game against Sutton. It was Doyle actually who got caught in possession, but originally the ball was at left back, and the guy kind of looked up, and there was another lad making a run. I can't remember who it was, and instead of playing it in, behind them and make them face their own goal, the left back checked back. He gave it to Doyle. Doyle got dispossessed because he didn't think he was going. Then they broke and scored an unbelievable goal. Can you remember? That's a soft goal. You don't want to concede that. And the second goal was just as soft, a ball into the box. And I think they had maybe 2 or 3 in the box. We had about 6 or 7, and we couldn't handle it. And your man put it away. So, like we said at the beginning, the clean sheet is going to be massive on the run in, and it just gives you a heck of a chance. The goalkeeper, if he plays well as well, it's a big help. So look, I just think that if we can, wouldn't it be wonderful tomorrow night if Ellis got the winner in a 1-0? It would be remarkable after this discussion that we've had tonight. So again, let's hope so. But they're a decent team. They drew at home to Wrexham, but they drew at home to Barnet. They won 6-0 away at Wealdstone. They drew at Stockport 2-2, and they beat Torquay 4-1. So they're kind of up and down at the moment. But they're obviously going to be flying, as I said, after Saturday. But why can't we be flying? Why can't we be flying? We really are probably playing as good as football now as we've done all season. And it just means forget Saturday. Let's win this match, or let's not lose this match tomorrow, and keep this run going. I said it from the time when the previous manager came in. Can we get a run going? A decent run of unbeaten games, and now is the time to do it for sure. And as I said, it's not like we don't have the bodies, the people. The hardest thing in the game is to score a goal. It's easier to defend, they say. The hardest thing is to create and score. And we have people who can create and score. We have lads who can score goals. And like the goal for Wootton the other week will have given him a big lift. And again, let's see, can he add to that tomorrow? I'm really confident that we'll be at the beginning of a little run now. I really believe it. And all I'm saying is don't lose tomorrow. Clean sheet. And the clean sheet tomorrow will give you even more confidence for Saturday. You know what I'm saying? It's that confidence boost. We've gone 3 games now without losing. As I said, a win, 9 points out of 9. The confidence is through the roof. If you take 7 out of 9, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That would mean 4 points from 2 away games as well. So look, I'm excited about tomorrow, and I think the lads can deliver. I really do.
Chloe's got a fan club out. NCFC Guy says Notts need more supporters like Chloe, refreshingly honest but always positive. Notts need less pessimistic pies. Gary Smithers, set pieces can be massive. Look at England in the World Cup. Kelvin Hallam, Ellis has scored same amount at Notts than Tranmere have managed as a team, a stat I read the other day and had to laugh at. Now Tranmere are in the playoffs, and I was speaking to Lee Curtis. He's on his jollies at the minute, and he's not been allowed in, and I don't believe Charlie Slater has either, though that may have changed in the past 24 hours to go to Maidenhead tomorrow. But I did mention to Lee, with Tranmere having qualified for the playoffs, I was just hoping there was no way that Tranmere could bring him back if they needed to for their playoffs, because clearly he's been an integral part of our revival and clearly one of our top scorers over the past few games. What else have we got here? Trevor Scanlon, aka your granddad, Chloe. Do you think that since Doyle has become assistant coach, it is him that has made the difference to the upturn in Rodrigues? Don, you identified Ruben as a talent several weeks ago on this podcast. As you're the only pro we have on here tonight, and therefore much better qualified than certainly me and a little bit more than Chloe, what do you think Notts have done to get more out of Ruben? The manager had a little dig at him, didn't he? Kicked him out, so to speak.
Yeah.
Then brought him back. He's done very well. Is it positional? Is it a player? What would your expert view be?
I would imagine that when he trains, he looks an honest kid. He's not a kid who doesn't track back. He will, if he has to do the graft, he'll do it. But he's a very technically good player. And I would imagine that if you train well, we said about Michael obviously in training, his level is the same as if he was playing a match. And I would say the Rodrigues kid is very similar. But not only that, he's got a good attitude. He's got great skills. He can win a game for you. But players see that in training. And, sometimes you have a bad time in the pitch, but players think, Jesus, he's better than that, And it might just need an arm around the shoulder from a teammate like Doyle or from the manager or a combination of both. I mean, it's very possible that Ian and Michael have said to each other, look, the lad Rodrigues, or Doyle might have gone in and said, look, this kid is a great player. I've seen more of him than you have. And we need to give this kid, game time because he can win matches. And they might have, this is hypothetical, obviously, but they might have said, look, let's both have a word with him on the quiet. And so I'll put my arm around him today and tell him how good he is. And Doyle, you pull him tomorrow at training, after training, and say, Jesus, what a great player you are. And you just don't know. But that's all it takes. If you've no confidence, you're not a good player. You're not a good player. Even though you're technically brilliant, you're not a good player because your confidence is gone. So you can't play without confidence. Nobody can. And you can't play golf without confidence. You'll be putting the ball in the water all the time. But I think there's a possibility that this lad's mindset has changed, and it could well have been, an arm around the shoulder from both manager and Doyle, because I reckon Doyle recognises that this guy can definitely do well in this team and get us out of this league. So, we'll probably never know. It might be a question that we can ask the lad himself one day. What changed? He might say the free kick. I don't know. What was it? The Altrincham free kick was class, wasn't it? It really was. So it'll be an interesting one to find out what his answer is. Hopefully after the Wembley win, after he scores the winner at Wembley, we can say, well, what actually turned the season for you? But Doyle will definitely have a bigger influence now that he's got the freedom. He's got the freedom to speak now. The manager's given him that. And, the manager will be hoping that he can help. And I would say that's been a huge part of the revival, and long may that continue.
Chloe, thoughts on Ruben?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Don said. And the only thing that can help him and improve his confidence and getting better is by staying in the team and getting more game time. When he first came, I had a lot of conversations with friends, family, and discussions really, and people were split over him, but because people thought he wasn't performing or he wasn't the kind of star player like some people expected, like Cal Roberts, or to come in and be amazing as soon as he came. But I could see the flashes of brilliance in his playing. He had something, but I think as well as probably a confidence boost with the wins and starting in the team most weeks now, and maybe someone putting an arm over his shoulder and giving him some confidence, I think positional has been massive from the beginning. I think he's the most number 10 player I've ever seen, and we weren't playing him there. And I think that he's grown confidence in now finding his position, and he's happy there, and he's getting a lot of the ball there, and he can be in and around the box. But like Don says, he quite likes to get back in midfield as well. So that number 10 role, I think, is perfect for him, and it's working. So, and I wouldn't change it now. We're getting the best out of him, and that's all we can ask. And he could be absolutely huge as well with the confidence going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think if he's confident, he'll play well. So as long as we keep him happy and keep giving him the confidence that he needs and keep starting him and playing where he needs to play, then I think you'll just keep seeing him getting better and better.
We're going to go slightly off topic, Don, to one of your previous careers from A.D. Clark. It says, Don, what a legend. You may have read this or you may have not. Many years ago, you called into my work selling sports insurance. Couldn't believe my eyes. I had to go and get my sales manager, another big Notts fan, to come and chat with me. Sorry, I didn't buy any insurance.
It was actually it was an insurance that all the players had called CICA. You remember that, Paul? Have you ever heard of that? It was basically, if you got injured and were out for any amount of time, the more time out you were, the better it was because you got more money. So
Right.
you actually got insurance payments as well as your wages because you were a professional footballer.
Okay.
So anyway, I had been involved with this throughout the years, and obviously when I did my Achilles, I kind of got a few bob from that time, and but one of the funniest stories, it was funny because you didn't just go and talk to footballers, you went to anyone in all, I didn't realize that was available to everyone, but you could, it was people in all walks of life who could obviously get this insurance. But I went to Derby County one day, right? And it was quite funny because Igor Stimac, I think was his name. He took a policy, as did the goalkeeper, what was his name, a foreign guy. But anyway, as I was looking around the room at lunchtime as to who I could go and talk to next, I was saying, oh yeah, Igor's taking it. It's a great, I used to do it when I played and all this. And who walks in and sits down, but I wouldn't say he's my friend because we were never on an Irish squad together, but I think he played in the same team in Dublin as my brother, Paul McGrath, who was an absolute legend, in Ireland. He's so well respected. What a player! Played for Man United, Villa, and he's at Derby, and he kind of pretended he knew me, but he did know my brother. But he probably heard of me, but we'd never really come across each other in all the time that we'd been in England, I suppose. But so I goes, Paul, how are you doing? And he goes, I'm grand. How are you? What are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm selling this CICA. And I said, would you be interested? He said, Don, hang on a second. He says, your company will be bankrupt, he says, if you take me on. He said, I'm injured every week. I said, oh, goodness me. He said, look, seriously, he says, I wouldn't even bother going down that road. He says, they'd probably turn me away. I said, no, we turn up. The policy is we don't turn anyone away. He said, no, Don, seriously, you don't want to do it. So that was that. But yeah, we went around places like Worksop and I think maybe even as far as Sheffield and Derby, obviously. And it was, it wasn't what I didn't really enjoy it, when you've been a professional as long as I had, and then all of a sudden that happens, it was a bit of a nightmare. But later on, as I say, when I came to Ireland as manager and everything changed, so happy days. But it was just something I wanted to give. I always thought, the gift of the gab, I'll probably sell loads of policies, but it wasn't that easy, I'll tell you. But yeah.
Question. Adi Clark says, Don, you were a better footballer than salesman.
Totally agree, 100%. 100%.
Gary Smith asked, and I'm sure there must be a story because you have a story for everything. It's a genuine question from Gary. Can you ask Don if he was ever close to getting a call up for the national team?
Yeah, quite funny. Yesterday we had a conference call between a guy called Tom Kilkelly. Would you remember that name, Paul? Leicester. Would have played at Leicester. He's a kid now. He wouldn't have played many first-team games, if any. But another guy called Ken Fogarty, who played for Stockport and went out to America.
Yeah.
And a lad called Noel Mitten, who I played with and played against in Ireland, but played with on the Ireland schoolboy team under 15. So anyway, we all had a meeting yesterday online, like we're doing now, chatting away, reminiscing on the old days and so on. But unbelievably, yeah, the conversation come up about me. How come I didn't get a cap?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was in the squad 4 times, but never got on. I was on the bench 4 times, but never got on. The last game I think was against Wales. Could have been in a friendly. Way back when, I can't remember. Johnny Giles had given me like 4 visits to the squad, but never played a match. So yeah, that was always like, I always say I have no regrets on my career at all. The one thing was taking my medal to school at 5 and having it stolen, but that's another story. But I was, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, geez, I was captain of the Ireland schoolboy team. I was captain of the Ireland youth team. Doesn't guarantee you anything, obviously. But, I was playing under 18 when I was 16 for Ireland, which was something. And then I obviously had a decent career. And then anyway, after Johnny Giles left, Owen Hand took over. And there was a big article in the newspaper one Sunday in Dublin, and my brother sent the cutting over to me. And he had said, oh, you know, we've got young lads or young players coming through like Donald Reardon, he's a great player, blah, blah, blah. And he, you know, but he never picked me. So it was disappointing. Saying all that, what made up for it was when I came back here and was manager of Galway, and we were lucky, you know, we got promoted. Sorry, we were grateful that we got promotion, and I took the team to 2 semi-finals. I was given a job as under 21 manager of the league representative team, and I was also given the job as manager of the Ireland semi-professional team. Okay. That just blew my mind away, to be honest. I was so proud. We came to England and we beat England, who hadn't lost for 7 years. We beat Scotland, but we lost to Wales, so we failed to win the tournament. But on the night of the 4 teams gathering after the tournament and having a bite to eat and a drink together, one of the lads come over and says, get the head up, Gaffer, it doesn't matter, we lost to Scotland. I said, what do you mean? He says, we beat them English, didn't we? So it was like, he wasn't bothered at all that we'd lost the tournament. He was just delighted that we'd beaten England. But look, I wasn't that kind of cruel kind of person. But it was disappointing I never got a cap, for sure. It would have been, would have been great. But to have get that opportunity, the respect that, I was shown by being made manager of Ireland, that was a huge, proud time, and, made up for all the disappointments in the past. So it happens, there's a lot of players like me who didn't get a cap. So I wasn't the only one, as they say.
It's an interesting question for you, which several of our posters and viewers have kind of spoken about tonight. We've spoken a lot about Michael Doyle. We've spoken about Ellis. We've spoken about Ruben Rodrigues. We've spoken about the players. How much, I don't know if credit's the right word, or how much do you attribute to what I was going to say the manager, but of course technically he's the head coach. Yeah. How much do you attribute to these last 2 results to the head coach? Because, baptism of fire is an often used phrase. Yeah. Ian has had that and more in the time that he's been here. Where are you now with what Ian has done and produced in these last couple of games? And how do you think he as a head coach is now feeling, having lost his assistant under very difficult circumstances? He'd won, he'd lost about 4 out of 5, and now it's flipped back the other way. What's your take?
Do you want to go first, Chloe, or?
I don't mind. I can do if you want.
Go ahead.
I think he's always been confident. Ever since he's come in, even when we lost to Hornchurch, and in every interview, he was very confident. And a lot of people found that annoying or kind of didn't believe him because we were losing or we weren't playing well. But he's always said in pretty much every interview, it'll come. And it's finally come. And you hear the players talk about training. And I heard an interview, I think it was with Rawlinson, and all he could do was praise the head coach and Ian and the way they're training and the praise that they've been getting from him. And he has confidence in the side. So that's now showing on the pitch. And I think the fans can kind of now believe him, whereas before, when the performances or the results weren't coming and the performance kind of picked up, but the results didn't, he's been consistent throughout and said, look, we've got the squad. We just a few little tweaks and we'll get there. And it seems to have come now. And all we need to do is carry it on. And I definitely think fans are warming to him. Now they can see what he's actually saying, and the kind of proof is in the pudding now, whereas before it was just kind of words. And because we don't see training, we don't see what's going on, that all we saw was the performances or the results. But now that we can see they're winning and we can see the performances is coming and we can see the confidence in building all of it. So I feel he's definitely growing on me and get us into the playoffs, and then we'll see. But we was in the playoffs before, and then we're still in the playoffs now. And if he achieves that, then I think he's done well.
Okay. Don?
Yeah, totally agree. I don't know if I mentioned the last time I was on that I'd spoken to someone who knows him. Did I tell you that story?
Tell us again.
Well, I won't name names, but legitimate person, experienced in the game, who knows him, worked with him, and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He just needs to get to know the league, and he needs to get to know his players." He says, "Once that happens, he'll be fine. You'll see what he's capable of." So at the time I'm thinking, oh Jenny, is this is this real, what he's saying? The guy who told me, I trust him 100%. And it just, to me, it looks like now, the last few games, they're, like I said the other day when I was watching, I'm thinking, Jesus, they look like they're playing, they fast forwarded the ball, it's moving quicker than it was before, and with more purpose, and they're combining well, and so you've got to give the guy credit. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's doing something right. There's no doubt, and Doyle is helping. And as we said, that could be the best decision he ever made. But he at the end of the day, he's the guy who takes the fall or gets the praise, and hopefully it's going to be lots of praise in the near future. So if he can continue to prepare the team to play well, play good football, keep the ball moving, creating chances, scoring lots of goals as we've done of late, well then obviously he's the answer. It's going to be a big ask, obviously, to get up this year. But once you get into that playoffs, it's anyone's game, isn't it? As we know from the past. So I think he definitely deserves praise. Whether it was him who made the decision or the owners about Doyle, I don't know. But I think he still has to cooperate with this guy. But I think Michael Doyle, I don't know Michael personally, but I think he'll be he'd be a really nice type of guy, a great professional, an absolute ideal candidate to be working with. So look, I think between the two of them, if they can pull this off, it'll be remarkable. Probably better than we went up, to be honest, because we were such a formed team for such a long time. Like, it was a massive 10 or 12 games, where we were flying it. So look, I'm just hopeful that he has got to know the league as this guy told me he needs to, and he got to know his players after the amount of time he's been here now. I think he's got everything under control now. He knows how this team will play tomorrow, how they'll approach the game, and so on. And he'll look to counter it in his own way, and hopefully that'll be the right way. So yeah, let's give the guy a clap in the back, because there's been a bit of stick when he came in first. As Cowie said, geez, every question he answered in the media that day. I look back now and I think, was he prepared? Was he given the script beforehand? Because his answers were fantastic. It was everything. I was so excited when I heard him in the interview, what he was saying, everything you want to hear from a manager. But it didn't work out after the Hornchurch, and it was kind of, I don't know, after one match we lost. It doesn't matter. We didn't get to Wembley, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not sure if that's the exact words he said, but that's the way it was portrayed online and things, so he was kind of probably a little bit naive. And as we said, there was nobody saying, come on, we're going for promotion this year. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, players are coming out and saying, yeah, we've got a chance, definitely we're going to give it 100%. And the atmosphere has changed completely in a matter of weeks. It really has. And that's great. That's fantastic. Hopefully, as I said, good days ahead, good times ahead. And I'm still dreaming. My dream is Torquay up automatically and not up at Wembley. That is still very, very possible, I believe. Torquay they've played 10 games and they've not lost, have they? 8 wins and 2 draws. But now, we're on what are we? I think in the last 10 games we've 4 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses. So, if we can keep the winning side up, a few more, 2 or 3 more wins, it would be brilliant. And as I said, if they're all 1-0, as Chloe said, I'll take that as well, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think the important thing, you mentioned it, Don, and I certainly banged on about it for a few weeks, was that I think when Ian first came in, there was almost a reticence to embrace the fact that we were in a promotion playoff race. You know, individual results were talked about, but no necessarily context of where the club was. And as a result of the last two wins, clearly that's got momentum. Everything is in our hands. You know, it is in our hands mathematically, not just to finish seventh, not just to finish sixth, but to finish fifth. I know, but mathematically, if we win all our games, everyone else wins all theirs, we will finish fifth in the home game. And I think, you know, Chloe, as a young fan born in 2001, there have been very few seasons in the last 20 years where Notts have been in the top half of the table pushing for a playoff campaign. So it means a lot. And at one point, probably 90% of Notts' fan base were saying, oh, I'm not going to bother coming to Weymouth. You know, no point. You know, we won't even have a chance for the playoffs. Now, as a result of these two wins, everyone can't wait to get in against Weymouth. You know, give it some noise. And hopefully we're in a position to be in a very strong position for the playoffs. Now, clearly it's only 2 games, but I'm hoping now there is momentum. We are in a race that everyone's going to get behind, owners, Ian, players, and there's a common goal, isn't it? There's a common goal. And this negativity of, well, there's no point really going for the playoffs because we'll only lose them anyway. It's kind of gone out the window. It's kind of, oh, yeah, well, we might stand a chance now because Chesterfield, who couldn't do any wrong under James Rowe, have had a couple of blips. Hartlepool have lost the last 2. You would know better than anyone. It's often the form team going into those final 3 or 5 games in the playoffs because momentum, confidence are 2 massive weapons in the armoury of a football team, aren't they?
Yeah, without a shadow. As I said, when you look back at the results that we had back in '91, phenomenal run, absolutely phenomenal run. And you know, you just end up in a situation where you just think nobody's going to beat us. You know, and again, the other thing I was thinking about, and I'm not saying there was any doubt about this in the past, but you know, the team spirit when they score goals. So important to see them celebrate together, you know, the defenders coming up and hugging the forwards or whatever. And I just think you get to a stage where you're thinking we're going to depend on each other 100%. We're as good a team as anyone in the league. We've got, as you know, some fantastic attacking players, which is very difficult to have. You know, I think we've got 3 or 4 real threats up top, and I just think that we're in a position now where we've scored 7 goals, and I'm not saying we're going to go and score 2 or 3 tomorrow, but we're capable. We're definitely capable. Obviously, the opposition will probably be stronger tomorrow than it was Saturday, but you know, even on Saturday, you've still got to go. You've still got to go and win against Barnet. Even up to 44 minutes, people are probably saying, "Geez, what's happened? Is this the old Notts?" But I just think there's a different approach on the pitch, probably off the pitch. And it's bringing an air of confidence to the squad, to the team, that we've probably not seen for a long time. And I remember looking at the match at Hartlepool and thinking, you know, we hardly created a chance. And the lad who created the chance, the Griffiths lad, for Wotton's header, was taken off 5 minutes after he created the chance. It was almost like, here, get off. You know, I know that wasn't the reason why he was taken off for creating the chance. That's crazy. But it was kind of almost, in my opinion, mad to take a kid off who just created a brilliant chance. His confidence must have been high. Wotton's probably thinking, geez, I hope he does that again. Next time I'll make sure. But as I said, I think we have an air of confidence. We seem to have a pattern of play that didn't exist a few weeks ago. And each manager's come in and he's he stamped his authority on how we play. This is how we want to play, and he's had a bit more time. And it's working, and long may it continue to work, as we said earlier, because this is the time to be at your best. It's no use, remember Torquay early in the season, they were absolutely flying. Everyone said that's the league champions for this year. It's just who's going to go up in the playoffs now. But then they had an awful run, and then Gary's recovered. He's done a brilliant job. But even they can go second tomorrow if Sutton were to win. And then they're trying to get back on onto the top place. So it's going to be an interesting run in. But as I said, we should just look at one game at a time. And I think tomorrow will will determine a huge amount. To go unbeaten again in tomorrow's game will just keep the confidence level very, very high and produce another win probably at the weekend if possible. There's me jumping, as I say, to the next game. But I really am much more confident now than I was a few weeks ago when I was last on here. And I hope the lads can, really fulfil everyone's dream with a win tomorrow. It would be brilliant.
We'll wrap up, and we'll wrap up by absolutely not taking it one game at a time. So we've got 5 games left. That's what me and Stells did last week. So we'll kick off with Chloe. So Maidenhead away tomorrow night. Win, lose or draw?
I fancy the win.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah. Me and Stells went for the draw last week. Don, what are you going for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a draw because I think they're fairly handy at the moment. But I think it could be 1-1. As I said, I'd settle for that because I think we can. It's still in our hands, and we can still, achieve the playoffs. So that would be my prediction for tomorrow. I think there'll be goals. I'd love a clean sheet, 0-0. I'd be delighted with 0-0, but I just think 1-1.
Okay.
Because both teams are in good form.
So we've got 2 games against Bromley. The first one is at home Saturday. They're on a good run. Kept Torquay to a 0-0 in Devon on Saturday on the telly. So what are you going for with Bromley at home?
More optimism. I'll go for the win. I think, especially if we win tomorrow night and get back at the lane, it's just more confidence and just keep it going.
Okay, so that's 2 on the spin. What are you going for, Don?
Yeah, I think, again, after the Sutton game, having won that when it could easily have kind of said, we'll settle for the draw. And if you remember that game when the boy was sent off, the free kick that came from the resulting free kick, they nearly scored. Do you remember? The goalkeeper made a great save with his legs. And, that could well have been the turning point. Because if that had gone in, we'd probably have lost, 3-2 down against 10 men. Oh, well, it was a good effort. But the fact that keeper made that save, and not long afterwards we went to the other end, we get a penalty and we score. It was a brilliant performance. And I just think there's no fans in. I know that. But I just think, as I've always said it, Paul, from Neil Ardley's day, let's make the lane a fortress, please. Let's send. Doesn't matter whether it's Sutton, whether it's whoever, Bromley, send them home with nothing, and that's what we'll be looking to do on Saturday, please God. After a good result tomorrow, send them home on Saturday, tail between their legs, no points, and then we'll see at the far post at the last match of the season, kind of thing.
Okay, so you're down for a win there. Okay, Wrexham away midweek, Chloe.
This is the one that's the most difficult for me. I think I'll go for the draw because I still think confidence sky high, but I think we'll be going into every game feeling confident that we can win. And we played really well when we played them at home, but realistic, I think a point there, and I wouldn't be upset by that either.
Okay, Don, Wrexham away, the Hollywood A-listers.
Yeah.
God knows how we weren't 3-0 down after about 4 minutes at home. We won. They've lost some of their better players. What's your take on Wrexham? Because that is one of the, along with Bromley, one of these proverbial games in which you really don't want to get beat here because of it. It's almost like a 6-point swing because we're beating the same places, aren't we, in the playoffs?
Yeah, they've had the last 10 games. They've had 5 wins, 2 draws, 3 defeats. So they're a decent team. I did mention them online a couple of months ago when the owners had taken over. I did say, be careful, dark horses, these guys. So the game at Meadow Lane was great. I thought, it was a big win and confidence boost. I like we said, if the momentum continues, you would accept a point. But if we're buzzing, we could easily go there and win. If everything is as it seems at the moment within the club, seems a better atmosphere on the pitch, more better players, not better players, better play, better strategy. It seems to be as well. it's very possible that we could definitely continue this run of unbeaten and even go to Wrexham and win. That would be a fantastic achievement, and I'm predicting that.
Which one? Win or a draw?
Win.
Win. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I suspect there'll be some common ground on the next one. 4,400 Notts County fans back at Meadow Lane for the first time in over a year, playing Weymouth, Chloe.
Nothing but a win for me. The issue is with some Notts fans that we've seen it. So I've been on last Monday's podcast and this Monday's podcast, and the whole atmosphere's changed within 1 or 2 games. So I just think any excuse, no matter how they're playing, and I kind of look at Liverpool for kind of inspiration on this, that even when they're losing, there's no booing, that they're behind them until the whistle goes. And I think no matter how we're playing, no matter how the game's going, get behind them the whole way. We've scored late on in a couple of games now, and we've kind of got to drag them through it, even if we're not playing well. So with the fans there in high spirits, nothing but the win, and especially if it means something, especially if our games before that are positive, then I can't see why not.
Don, is this a banana skin game or not? Or you speak about Meadow Lane being a fortress and fans inside there for the first time?
Yeah, I think it should be an intimidating atmosphere when the opposition come. But because of the lack of fans or no fans, the opposition, the opponents are coming and they're looking around and saying, geez, what a stadium this is. Look at the size of that stand, and look at the pitch, it's fantastic. And it kind of lifts the opposition a little bit. Whereas if you have, if you have the cup full, it's deaf, and the opposition are defending the goal in the second half, a bit like at Liverpool, well then it's got to be an advantage. And the more the players apply themselves 110%, the more the fans will call and cheer them and back them 100% as well. So it would be an amazing day, I'm sure, to get fans back in, and I'd say the players will relish it, and they'll beat them. It'll be another win as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, all looking good so far. Last game, Bromley away. Chloe?
I think it really does depend on both of us going into that game. If it doesn't really mean anything to them and they're out of the playoffs, then, and we've been on a run like I've kind of predicted, then there's no excuse for a win. But if they're in and around that 7th place and it's all to play for, I think it could be a draw. I think it'll be a difficult place to go. And especially with they've got fans in, I assume they've got fans in by then. And obviously we won't have any away fans. And it's a massive advantage. I spoke about it before, that a lot of teams have come down to Meadow Lane this season, and after they've picked up a win or a point, they've said in their interviews, this is kind of our cup final, and to beat Notts County is everything for our season. And that's been made a lot easier, in my opinion, without fans being there, because they've had to focus on one thing and one thing only, which is beating us, really, or getting the draw. And they've had no fans there against them or anything like that. So it's always difficult when there's fans involved. So I think I'll be a little bit pessimistic and go for the draw.
Okay. Don? Synthetic pitch, plastic pitch. There's quite a few in the National League. I didn't know that.
But again, yeah, I think to play on that kind of a pitch, you've got to have decent players who've got good touch, good passing ability. And I think when you look at, our midfield and our strikers, I think you'd have to say, yes, these guys can pass and control, no problem. Bromley at home, obviously, if we can beat them, which we predicted, we can then have that. The fact that you're only playing them, 2 weeks later or something, I think you can go to Bromley if you've beaten them at home and go there with an air of confidence. Obviously, there could well be huge pressure on the game. As Chloe said, if they were to drop off, if we beat them at home and they were to lose the next game and the next game, it could be that they were out of the playoffs or no chance. But if it comes to this stage where we're in the playoffs and they're needing a win, it's another cup final. Like we said, every single game, take it one at a time. and that could be an absolutely massive game. It would be wonderful if we knew that we were in the playoffs anyway, and that the result didn't matter. But even then, if you knew you were in the playoffs, you still want to go into the playoffs kind of unbeaten, starting as we've seen, these last couple of results. It would be fantastic if we could go all the way through now to that game and come away from there with a result. And as I said, one all again, would be happy to take if it meant that we were in the playoffs, to keep that momentum going. And then it's a case of preparing for the big games. And please God, that's what we'll be doing. It would be fantastic. If we can.
So looking at that, both of you have slightly different ways of doing it. 3 wins and 2 draws from the 5 games. If my maths is correct, has us on 71 points. Me and Stell last week had us down for 69. 69 was kind of on the cusp between 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if we get 71 points. We're not 5th and a home leg. It does kind of just show you how quickly things can change in terms of the optimism, the genuine excitement now, and why not? We are involved in a promotion playoff push, and that's where we are. That's where we are. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. And certainly, we're looking at the comments. 1 week we're anti-Ian Birchnall, anti the club, anti just about everything. This week, we're all happy. I'm pleased that the battle lines that were kind of drawn between factions of, Neil should never have been sacked when he was, the new guy don't know what he's doing, to the Neil had lost the plot, the new guy will get it sorted. Those factions, I think, certainly temporarily, because results will decide everything. Results will decide everything, nothing else. That I think there's some common ground among fans now, which I think is great. Ian Burchnall says, more great debate. Many thanks, Chloe, Don and Paul. Here's to 3 points tomorrow. Kelvin Hallam, great show, everyone. Love Don's stories. Please say he has an autobiography coming out. Younger fan here. Are you writing a book yet, Don, or not?
I think that's in the lockdown. That's about the 7th suggestion I've had. I've even had a guy who said he'll do it for me, kind of thing. But there's enough stories in there, Paul, as you know. But
you think, but even thicker than my book. And my book's a big door stopper of a book.
Massive, massive. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. It's I know Don Masson wrote one recently, didn't he?
Yeah, very popular, very honest. And it's been interesting that over the past 4 or 5 years, quite a few players have done books now, which is good. So that, Brad, I did mine. There's one on the record-breaking season of the Sam Allardyce era. It's good because, same principle as this podcast, we're all fans. You've lived the dream, but we want to peek behind the curtains and say, and you tell us the stories. And that's what we want. That's what people want, because they don't see it. When you're playing for it, clearly you can't tell all these stories, can you? So
exactly.
I think Neil obviously has taken. I think this is the first 12 months he's not brought a book out every year for the past 15 years, as in Neil Warner. He must be due. He must be due his 17th biography coming out soon, mustn't he? Others, AD Clark, thanks for a great show, guys. Always entertaining. Great stories, Don. And this is AD Clark, who says, stick to the football, not selling insurance. Really, with Don's stories, surely the book would be a series. Everyone is happy. Let's hope we are come 5 to 10 tomorrow evening. Let's hope the stream is a little bit better than the one on Saturday, which cost us £12.50, and you're continually refreshing the button. But anyway, small things. Whether Charlie will make it down to Maidenhead, whether they're going to allow him, I don't know. Drop him a note, find out whether he's going or not. Lee apparently has been told he can't get along, so he'll be watching on the podcast with us. Let's wrap up. Chloe, thank you very much indeed for your contribution this evening. Don, hang on. Don, as always, great value. Really enjoy listening to your stories, your professional insight. I know how much our viewers and our listeners love it. We look forward to getting you on between now and at some point before the end of the season and see how accurate all our predictions are. Mark Stallard, yourself, Don, Chloe, me, have got us not losing a single game between now and the end of the season. It would be nice to think maybe it come true. Put a pound on getting the first goal tomorrow. That's it. Thank you very much indeed. Good night, all.